Okay, so we have our samples for soil texture, and I'm just going to walk you through how to best approach that. So pull out the soils, make sure that you have 3 bags that say texture 1, 2, and texture 3. Okay, so we'll start with texture 1, and you can see there's some roots in there, some aggregates, maybe some coarse fragments, and we want to break those up before we do anything with figuring out soil texture. So dump this sample into your sieve, put it on top of something. You can put it on top of a clipboard. I just have an old cake pan here. You want to break up these aggregates. You can get all of the fine earth fraction through this sieve, this 2mm sieve. You're leaving the roots behind, plenty of aggregates, some rocks. Push that through so that you have a decent soil sample in there. Okay, grab your water bottle. And if we're going to follow this soil texture by feel flow chart, it says to place approximately 2 teaspoons of soil in your palm. I like to fit as much soil as I can in my hand because I usually end up spilling a bunch as I wet it up. And so you'll wet it up. It says add a few drops of water and knead soil to break down all the aggregates. Soil is at a proper consistency when it feels plastic and moldable like putty. I added too much water, so you're gonna just add more soil. And spend a bit of time really working this into a nice moldable handful of putty. You know, some soils are gonna feel like putty, some won't, obviously. Sands are gonna fall apart. But we've got pretty good amount of clay in here. It's holding together. I'm just adding more soil because I added too much water too quickly. If you find that you added too much water and you don't have any more soil to add, just let it dry out for a little bit and come back to it. All right. So, like I said, spend a little bit of time breaking down any aggregates. Okay. All right, now that you have this soil worked into a ball, really spend some time breaking up those aggregates. Like, take a couple minutes, pause the video. You want it to be really, really workable. Break up all those aggregates before we move into this next part here. So, does the soil remain in a ball when squeezed? Yes. Place the ball of soil between your thumb and forefinger. All this time working out those aggregates, gently pushing the soil with your thumb, squeezing it upward into a ribbon. So this is called ribboning. Does the soil form a ribbon? This soil does form a ribbon. Okay, so does it form a weak ribbon, medium, or strong ribbon? So this takes some time to figure out. I'm wetting my sample up a little bit because I've been working it for about 5 minutes or so. All right, so in terms of ribboning, you want to use your thumb and forefinger and try to make a ribbon or tongue of soil. And so based on my experience, I'm seeing it's wanting to break just shy of about 2 inches. And so we're going to head down this column here for medium ribbon. The next step is to figure out whether it feels very gritty, neither gritty or smooth, or very smooth. And so we're going to take just a smaller pinch of soil, put it in the palm of your hand, and excessively wet it. You're going to rub it with your finger, break it all up. A bunch of other soil in my hand from the same sample, so that's okay too. Excessively wet. And then just feel what's in there. Is it gritty? Is it smooth? I feel some grit in there, so I would say it does feel very gritty. And then when you pour off that water, you can still see those sand grains that are all left behind. So obviously you can see I'm making a huge mess. I would recommend you do this outside. So very gritty. We're looking at a sandy clay loam. And so sandy clay loam. Now we have to figure out the percent clay. Dry my hands off a little bit. And there's a couple ways you can do that. Obviously, your ribbon length should be relative to the amount of clay. There's another test that's called the shine test. And you're gonna, use your hand the same way that you were when you're trying to form that ribbon, but squeeze really, really hard and try to get the soil in there. Can you see? I'm not sure what the camera's picking up, but there's a shine to it. And that shine line, theoretically, untested to the best of my knowledge, is around 27% clay. 27 corresponds to the break between loam and clay loam, silt loam and silty clay loam. Sandy clay loam's a little bit different. I think we are somewhere in there around 30% clay. So I would put my dot somewhere right smack in the middle of the sandy clay loam for texture 1. So the key really is work that sample for a while. Take the time to get it really worked up well. If you just texture it super quickly, it's going to feel a lot more gritty, a lot less clayey. So take your time to texture the sample so you can get it into the right category. And there you have it, sandy clay loam. All right, let's walk through one more texture. This is texture 2, and you can look at it right away and see. What do you see? Wow, those are some pretty coarse sand grains. So, still put it through your sieve, because some of those coarse sands could be gravels. Oh wow, a ton of them are. So this is our fine earth fraction that we're going to texture. And then all of these teeny tiny gravels are also in there. So just for fun, estimate a percentage. I'd say probably, gosh, just about 15% gravels in there, but try to pick that soil up again. And wet it up slowly. All right, and the first thing that we're going to try to do on this texture by field chart is see if, well, first get it to the proper consistency so it's moldable and feels plastic like putty. This will never feel like putty, this particular sample. So we want to do that next step. Does the soil remain in a ball when squeezed? And this does not. It is totally falling apart. My sample might even be a little bit wet. So it is a no. Is the soil too dry? No. Is the soil too wet? Maybe a little too wet. All right, let me see if I can add whatever's left here. Okay, now I'm going to try the ball again. Yeah, that's not really holding together at all. So we have a straight sand. Right. Take a look at the texture triangle. Sand is in this lower left corner. Clay content is probably less than 3%.